Okay, good morning, all of you. Uh, what we learned from the last two classes? In the last two classes, I started third unit, embedded firmware design approaches. Okay, what actually learned from that unit so far? What are the embedded firmware development approaches? Okay, the development approaches of this firmware is organized as a two parts as super loop approach is the first one, and second one OS based approach. Okay, and how this firmware development is that much of important in especially embedded system. And what is meant by firmware? That firmware is basically a controlling algorithm, okay, to configure the embedded system to do a particular task. Understand? Okay, and second point is it is very okay and most important unavoidable part of any embedded system. And without the firmware, okay, there is no embedded system. Okay, basic definition of the embedded system is the combination of an hardware and software, but how we provide that combination to accomplish a particular task, how it is possible, that is only possible with a firmware. That's why that is very most important and unavoidable part of an embedded system. Okay, but how do you develop this firmware? Okay, that is the current topic we deals with in the last class. Okay, what are the development languages, firmware development languages? Okay, the embedded firmware can be developed in various methods, okay, and with various languages. Okay, so in that first method is write an high level language programs like C, CPP, Java, Oracle, .NET. Okay, and among those high level languages we prefer CPP and Java, already you know. Okay, and that is very most important question also. Okay, write the high level language programs in C or CPP or Java. Okay, and whatever you write that code in that high level language is dumped into that program memory using IDEs, integrated development environment, and the program, I mean, the platforms like Arduino, okay, Arduino.cc. That is the one type of IDE, integrated development environment. Okay, and basically that IDE contains editor to write the code, to compiler, convert that whatever you write the code, just like an Arduino C into natural language. Okay. Next, to convert what are the library files into the actual code, we need a linker. Okay, is it contains any erroneous syntaxes to check with debugger and simulators. Okay, and that is the basically IDE contains. Okay, but these IDEs are different for different families of processors or controllers. Already you know Arduino having some Arduino.cc, one simulator is there. For 8051 having Kiel Microvision is there. Okay, and 8086 having MASM is there. Okay, and different microprocessors and different microcontrollers having its own IDEs. Okay, those IDEs are provided by the manufacturers. Okay, and next alternative is write and program in assembly level language. Okay, already you know how to write that assembly language. Okay, those assembly language programs, okay, developed with instructions, okay, supported by that processor architecture. Okay, that is also provided by the company which developed that microprocessor or microcontrollers. Okay, that is the basic embedded firmware key points. Okay, and just I'm consolidating whatever you learned from the last three classes. Okay, last two classes. Why? Because okay, in the exam point of view, you directly okay by heart all the topics, and you are able to write the exam to get a good marks. But okay, to learn something from this unit, okay, and what are the key topics we have learned? Okay, just why I consolidate whatever we discussed so far, especially in the third unit. Okay. In this unit, you learn firmware. What is meant by firmware? And the firmware is a controlling algorithm. The controlling algorithm is dumped into the program memory of microprocessor or microcontroller to accomplish particular task. And it is the most important part of an embedded system. Okay, that embedded firmware is developed by using low level and high level languages. Okay, and several languages are there. Among that, we prefer CPP and Java is most preferable development approaches. Okay, when we come to, okay, embedded firmware design approaches, okay, there are two techniques are there. Okay, there are two techniques available. First one is the super loop based approach. Okay, super loop based approach. What is meant by super loop based approach? Super loop, the name itself indicates that is the infinite loop. Okay, in that infinite loop, we sequentially mention, okay, what actions it has to be performed one by one. Task 1, task 2, task 3, task 4. Okay, in this order, that infinite loop repeats, okay, those functions, okay, in a sequential order. Okay, that is the super loop approach. Okay, but it's having its own limitations. And second one is OS based approach. Again, OS based approach is okay, organizer here as a two parts. Why? Because, okay, OS based in the sense, OS for embedded system is different from general purpose. That's why general purpose operating system based approach is the first one, and real time operating system is the second one. Okay, here first one super loop based approach is there. In that super loop based approach, the super loop based approach is okay, no need of separate operating system. Okay, and that is the advantage. But that super loop based approach is only suitable for soft real time system. Already you know what is meant by soft real time system and hard real time systems. Okay, so what we understand from that super loop approach, okay, why I am repeatedly tell you that concept of super loop approach is, it is very important, okay, in the interview point of view also. Okay, the super loop based firmware development approach is suitable for the applications that are not time critical. That's why that is called soft real time. Okay, where the response time is not so important. Okay, what it means, that embedded system missing deadlines are acceptable. Already I told you the example with the IR sensor. Okay, and what is the second point here? Okay, whatever you write the code for super loop implementation is just like an conventional programming method. ఓకే, అంటే మీరు ఆర్డినరీ సి లాంగ్వేజ్ లో రాస్తుంటారు కదా. ఓకే, దట్ ఈస్ ద బెస్ట్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్. ఓకే, that's why that super loop approach is, it's very similar to conventional procedure programming, where the code is executed task by task, task 1, task 2, task 3, task 4 up to task n. Okay, but all those tasks are, we must implement it in the infinite loop. That is the super loop. Okay, that loop is the never ending loop, while of one. Okay, do forever. Okay, and these are the common uh, okay, commonly used instructions for creating infinite loop. Okay, and what are the tasks given in that loop is executed continuously, and it is a never ending loop. Okay, here these tasks are listed on top of the program code is executed first. Okay, and it's just like an global variable. Okay, and tasks just below the top are executed after completing the first task. Okay, the typical super loop implementation basically contains configuration of all the parameters. Okay. Okay, configuration of all the parameters. Of course, first libraries, next configuration, next initializations, next start the first task. Okay, and execution of the task 1, execution of the task 2, execution of the task 3. Okay, execution of the task n, and that is the last task. For suppose that is the last task, then again goes to first task to execute the same. Okay, to execute the similar manner. Okay, so best example here is C language. Okay, void main. In that first two I mentioned configurations and next initializations, next while of one. Okay, in that infinite loop we assign the task 1, task 2, task 3, task 4. Okay, several tasks are executed step by step. Okay, uh, but what are the advantages of this super loop approach? What we observed, okay, that super loop approach is a soft real-time system. That's why that doesn't require any operating system. Okay, and if the operating system is available, that operating system is responsible for task scheduling and monitoring. Okay, and multitasking. Understand? If the operating system is available, that available operating system is take care of all those task schedulings, monitorings, and multitasking and multi-threading. Okay, and intercommunication between several peripherals. Okay, all those responsibilities are taken care by that operating system. But this super loop approach method doesn't require any operating system. That's why, okay, there is no concept of separate task scheduling, monitoring, okay, multitasking, intercommunication interface. Okay, these are not required here. Okay, moreover, this is the simple and straightforward design. The super loop based approach is simple and straightforward design. Okay, okay, and here the system doesn't require operating system. That's why, okay, the requirement of memory is also very low compared to OS based method. Understand what are the advantages here? Okay, to conclude, what are the advantages here? It doesn't require operating system. That's why it requires very low memory. Okay, here there is no need of task scheduling. Okay, intercommunication interfacing, multitasking or multi-threading, and this is the simple straightforward method. These are the advantages of super loop based approach. And at the end of this unit, you are best aware of what is the super loop based approach. Okay, at least we are able to tell you in at least 10 points. Okay, and what are the disadvantages of the super loop based approach? What are the disadvantages? Just I am concluding. Okay, that super loop based approach and OS based approach, and what are the different languages used for that firmware design approach. Okay, actually ఆ మూడు నేను సార్ క్లియర్ చేద్దామని చెప్పి చెప్తున్నా ఇప్పుడు. ఓకే, ఎందుకంటే నెక్స్ట్ కాన్సెప్ట్ అంతా కూడా మనకి interrupts concept, that is a separate topic. That's why I want to consolidate these three topics today. Okay, and what are the disadvantages of super loop based approach method? Okay, here disadvantages are here disadvantages are it is suitable for only soft real-time systems. Okay, soft real-time system. Soft real-time system means, okay, deadlines are not critical. Okay, and a non-real-time in execution. Okay, so non-real-time in execution doesn't require that much of priority. That is the one of the disadvantage. Okay, and second point is any issues in task execution may affect the functioning of the product. Why? Because it doesn't contain any operating system. That's why, okay, there is no portion available to take care of the task scheduling and task monitoring and provide intercommunication interface. Okay, intercommunication between several peripherals. That is the second disadvantage. Understand? Okay, it contains major 3 advantages and major 2 disadvantages. Okay, that's all about soap loop based approach. Okay, but how we are efficiently work with that soap loop based approach method? Is there any possibility? Yes, there is a possibility. There is a possibility to effectively work with soap loop based approach method. Okay, uh, the first technique is, and for the best utilization of that soap loop based approach, combine that soap loop based technique with interrupts. Okay, and how to reset the execution of infinite loop method? How it is possible? Okay, there are only 2 possibilities to interrupt, okay, or to reset that soap loop based approach is. First one is by using hard resetting. What it called? Hard resetting. Okay, and when we press the master reset button, okay, okay, when we press hard reset button or master reset button, okay, it completely halts the current execution of the program. That is the one technique. And second technique is by using the concept of interrupts. Already you know what is meant by concept of interrupts concepts. Okay, interrupt concept, interrupt service routines. Okay, those are the 2 possibilities. What are the advantages and what are the disadvantages and what are the uh, possible improvements in soap loop based approach? Understand? At least remember 2 points for each side heading. Okay, advantages, disadvantages, and possible enhancements. Okay, that's all about soap loop based approach method. And second one is OS based approach method. Already I told you, the embedded device contains embedded operating system. Okay, that embedded device contains the embedded operating system. That embedded operating system may be real-time operating system or general purpose operating system. If that embedded system is especially developed to attain a general purpose, okay, then we prefer general purpose operating system. And next one is a real-time operating system. Okay, understand? And the operating system based approach contains general purpose operating system and real-time operating system method. Okay, here the embedded OS is responsible for, okay, already I told you okay, what are the responsibilities of the operating system in the OS in Superloop method. Okay. Here the operating system is responsible for scheduling and execution of tasks. Okay, what they have to perform, and provide multitasking or multi-threading, and able to provide communication between internal peripherals. That is called intercommunication among peripherals. Okay, that is the first point. And second point, it involves lot of operating system related overheads apart from managing and executing user defined tasks. Okay, and what we mentioned in that program, okay, that processor must do all those tasks, okay, and along with these tasks and whatever we assign here, okay, along with these tasks, okay, they have to internally perform several operations, okay, that is called overheads here. It involves OS related overheads as a part of managing and executing several user అంటే మనం ఓకే మనం ఏం చేస్తామో ఆ టాస్క్ అన్ని కంప్లీట్ చేసుకోవాలి. ఓకే, అండ్ వాట్ ఆర్ ది ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్ ఆఫ్ జనరల్ పర్పస్ ఓఎస్? What are the examples of general purpose OS? Okay. Already you best aware of Microsoft Windows. Okay, Microsoft Windows already you best aware of. Okay, Windows XP. Okay, and these are the well-known general purpose operating systems. Okay, and what are the real-time operating systems examples? Okay, Windows CE, Windows Mobile, QNX, VXWorks. చాలా మందికి తెలిసే ఉంటుంది VXWorks, ThreadX చాలా తక్కువ. ఓకే, మైక్రో సి ఆర్ ఓఎస్, యాక్చువల్గా మైక్రో సి ఆర్ ఓఎస్ 2 అని ఒకటి యాక్చువల్గా లాంచ్ చేశారు, బట్ దే యూజ్ వెరీ లిటిల్ బిట్. ఓకే, నెక్స్ట్ ఎంబెడెడ్ లైనక్స్, ఇట్ ఈస్ వెరీ యూస్ఫుల్. Embedded Linux, that is completely command oriented. And Symbian is the actually mobile OS. Okay, actually first Nokia what use చేసుకున్నాడు అది. Okay, etc are the examples of the real time operating systems. Okay, and mobile phones, PDAs, flight control systems are examples of embedded devices, okay, that runs on RTOS and that real time operating system. Okay, that's all about OS based approach. Okay, clear? Super loop approach and OS based approach. Okay, I think you are very clear about these two topics. And in the last class what I told you, embedded firmware development languages. అంటే what are the different languages used to develop the firmware and the main controlling part of that embedded system. Okay, what are the different languages? Just time consolidate very key points from these topics only. Okay, see here, embedded firmware development languages already I told you in the last class, but once again I want to consolidate this topic also. Okay, embedded firmware development languages. Okay, first option here is the assembly language. Already I told you how to classify those languages. Okay, okay, the firmware development language is divided into two parts as high level language and low level language. The low level language comes under, okay, assembly and machine level languages, and high level languages from C onwards. C, CPP, Java, Oracle, .NET, PHP. Okay, all those are comes under high level languages. Okay, see here in consolidate that embedded firmware development languages. Okay, strictly first one is assembly language. And second one is high level language. Okay, high level language in the sense C, CPP, Java, Oracle. Okay, what I told you. But especially regarding to embedded systems, okay, okay, those high level languages in conjunction with embedded system is also used. Okay, but how? Okay, already you know C language. Okay, that C language is used for embedded system as embedded C. Understand? Similarly, CPP, already you know CPP, but in conjunction with embedded system, we developed as embedded CPP. Okay. Similarly, other high languages are also there. They are also used like this. Okay, as a subset. Okay. Next, and there is a possibility of mixing that assembly level language and high level languages. Okay, they are called mixed languages. Already you know VHDL coding. VHDL is there. In VHDL, there are several data flow model, structural model, behavioral models are there. But finally, how to write the code? Okay, finally you write the code in combination of the data flow, structural and behavioral. That is called mixed flow model. Similarly, here also that high level languages and low level languages combination is called mixed level languages. Okay, assembly level language plus high level languages. Okay, and some of the instructions are used while writing the program in high level languages is the mix of assembly and high level languages. Okay, that are mixing high level languages with assembly code. Okay, that is called embedded C. Understand? And it contains some uh, instructions belongs to that processor. And for suppose 8051 microcontroller contains some port, okay, port 0, port 1, port 2, port 3, some 4 ports are there. Okay, how to set and reset those ports? Set P 1.0. I write the command set P 1.0, but that is the embedded C. In that embedded C, I use set instruction to set P 1.0 and port 1 లో 0th pin set చేయడం కోసం అది యూజ్ చేస్తున్నాను. It automatically set that pin as a 1. Okay, then is it comes under assembly language or C language? Okay, that is comes under both. Set is the instruction to set P 1.0 and port 1 0th pin for setting it to 1. Okay, I use the command as set. Okay, but is such commands are available in the C language? No. Okay, no such commands are available in that C language, but that command is used in, okay, in combination with C. Okay, that's why that is called embedded C. Okay, that is the mixing of assembly and high level languages, mixing high level languages and assembly code. Okay, next another one is inline assembly, and only in assembly language. Already you best aware of that assembly language. Okay, already clearly explain what are the assembly language formats. Okay, see here, embedded firmware development languages, all possible combinations with assembly languages. Assembly languages basically in human readable notation of machine language. Already explained with an example of 1010 Okay, that is a machine code generally used for addition. Let us assume, okay, generally that is the command used for addition. Let us assume then that 1010 combination is not understood by okay, not understood by person. Usually you are unable to understand. Okay, but the person who developed that microprocessor microcontroller able to understand. Okay, that's why, okay, to understand that machine language, we assign a group of characters as a assembly. Okay, that is called assembly language. That's why that assembly language is a human readable notation of machine language. Okay, then second point, machine language. Okay, sorry, machine language is a processor understandable language. Already you know. Okay, already explained with an example of Telugu only, and me also know Telugu only. Then there is no translator in between you and me. Okay, And whatever you know basic language, that is called machine language. And here in the machine point of view, that is called machine language. Okay. Machine language is always in the binary form, consists of only zeros and ones, just like 10 10 10 10 for addition. Okay, assembly language and machine languages are processor or controller dependent. Already I told you processor dependent and independent languages. Okay, and in the last class I explained with an example also. Okay, if you know Telugu and me also know Telugu, then there is no translator here. But you know Telugu and I know only English, then we need one translator. The translator must know both Telugu and English. Okay, just like that. Okay, an assembly language program written for any processor or controller family will not work with others. Okay, why? Because the 8051 microcontroller, for example, when you consider 8051 microcontroller, uh, that instruction set is quite different from that 8085. Okay, because each processor or each controller having its own instruction set. Okay, okay, that is the point here. That assembly language programming is a process of writing processor specific machine codes uh, in the mnemonic form. Already you know what is meant by mnemonics. Already I told you 10 10 10 10 S into ADD. That ADD is called mnemonic. Okay, converting that mnemonics into actual processor instructions and associated data using an assembler. Okay, but how to convert that ADD into that 10 10 10 10 and how understand that machine, how that machine understands whatever you write that code to accomplish that operation. Okay, in between one translator is there. Okay, that is called assembler here, and assembler is especially for assembly level language to machine level language. Okay, the general format of an assembly language instruction is just like an opcode followed by an operands. Already you know. Okay, the general format of an assembly language. What is meant by opcode here? Opcode is basically an operational code and what operations they have to perform, and operands. Okay, operands means data. Okay, okay, on that operands we have to perform some operations. Okay, that is called opcode, and always the opcode performs operations on operands. Okay, okay, and see here, it is not necessary that all opcodes should have operands following them. Okay, some of the opcodes implicitly contains the operand. Okay, can you tell me the example of that opcode implicitly contains that operand? Implicit. Okay. Implicit addressing mode also there. Can anybody able to tell you that opcode implicitly contains the operand? For suppose when I'm telling you STC, what is meant by STC? STC doesn't contains any operand terms. STC doesn't contain any operand terms, or CMA, CMA, CMA. Okay, CMA is the opcode that doesn't contains any operands here. Just CMA is alone. CMA stands for complement accumulator. And what are the contents available in that accumulator? Okay, let us assume that 1010, if that accumulator contains, okay, after the execution of that CMA, it becomes, okay, 0101. And the content itself becomes complemented. Similarly, STC in the sense, in the flag register, set carry automatically. Okay, and whatever the carry is there, irrespective of that status, it's set to 1. Okay, is that STC instruction contains any operands here? If you move A comma B, okay, or move A comma some 02. What is the meaning of move A comma 02? Okay, move the contents of 02 into accumulator. That is the meaning. Okay, where move is the opcode, 02 is the operand. Okay, Here operation performed here is move the content of 2 into accumulator. That is the meaning. Here STC or CMA or CTC or okay EI, okay, several implicit addressing modes are there, or some direct implicit opcodes are there. Okay, that is the point here. It is not necessary that all opcodes should have operands following them. Some of the opcodes implicitly contains the operand. Okay, and such situation no operand is required. That is the example here. The operand may be a single operand or dual operand, okay, or more, whatever it may be. Okay. When we consider an example, either 8085 or 8051 or 8086, whatever it may be. Move AX comma 2030. What it means? Move AX comma 2030. What it means? Move the content of 2030 to AX register. Okay, that is the point here. Okay, just for examples. Okay, and to convert, and when you write the code in assembly level language, next you have to convert that assembly language into machine language. To convert that assembly language into machine language, we need one software here to convert that assembly to machine. That's why we need an assembler. Assembler is a piece of software that converts assembly language into machine language. Okay, the assembly language always stored with an extension of .asm. Okay, and when we save the assembly language file, already you best aware of it. The assembly language program written in assembly codes is saved as .asm. Okay, or as a source file, it may be src. That is also there. Okay, that is also format supported by that assembler. Okay, and just like our C language, okay, it is possible to have multiple source files called modules in assembly language programming. Okay, and each module may be represented as a .asm or .src. Okay, ఎలాగైనా present చేయొచ్చు. Okay, and while you writing the program in C language, okay, what is the extension of that C language? Okay, .c. Okay, and when we convert that C language into assembly or machine language, we need one compiler here, where to convert the assembly language into machine language, we need an assembler. Okay, both are softwares. That is also a very important question here. The assemblers for different family, is quite different. The assemblers for different family of target machines vary with respect to type of manufacturer and type of the manufacturing company. Okay. When we consider an 8051 microcontroller, okay, it requires Keil software. I think you are also best aware of it. Keil software is required. Okay, and each source file of assembly, okay, I mean assembly language, each source file can be assembled separately to examine the syntax errors. Okay, that is for debugging here, syntax errors and incorrect assembly instructions. Why? Because those instructions are always fixed. Okay, assembly of each source file generates a corresponding object file .obj format, already you know. Okay, assembling of each source file generates a corresponding object file. Okay, the object file does not contain absolute address where the generated code is needs to be placed on the program memory. Okay, that is called a relocatable code. Understand? Okay, that whatever you write the code in assembly language is converted into obj file. Okay, by using assembler. Okay, that object file does not contain absolute address. Okay, where the generated code needs to be placed on the program memory, and eక్కడ locate cheyali. Okay, there is no separate specific address. Okay, the software program called linker or locator, what it called, the software program called linker or locator is responsible for assigning those absolute addresses. Okay, and simply assembler converts assembly language into some okay, .obj file. Okay, obj format or .obj file. Okay, but it doesn't contain any absolute address and where that converted code is located into memory. To okay to take care of this, okay, we need one linker or locator. Okay, the software program called linker or locator is responsible for assigning that absolute addresses here. Okay, the absolute object file created from that object files corresponding to different source code modules contain information about address where each instruction needs to be placed in code memory. Okay, that actually specifies okay where that module is located. Okay, the software utility called okay object to hex file converter and final machine language anamata. Okay, a software utility called object to hex file converter translates the absolute object file into .x file. Okay, and that is the general phenomena done in any microprocessor or microcontrollers. Okay, similarly for the same for high level languages, but instead of in comparison with assembly level language, that high level languages requires some compiler. Okay, high level languages requires compiler and and remaining is same process. Already I told you, if you know Telugu and if you know Telugu and may also know Telugu, then there is no translator here, we directly conversation each other. Okay, okay, for suppose okay, you know one language, but whatever you know that language is I don't know, and any other person they don't know that language. But okay, for best communication, we must require one translator. The translator must aware of okay all those languages and able to convert it into your understandable format. Okay, that is called a cross compiler. Okay, the role of the translator is a cross compiler. Okay, the embedded firmware that is written in any high level language, C, CPP, Java, Oracle, or whatever may be, the software utility called cross compiler converts that high level languages into machine understandable format. Okay, machine understandable format, and the remaining process same, just like an earlier whatever you learn. Okay, the same process followed by the high level languages also. Okay, that's all about embedded firmware development languages. Okay, in the next class I will tell you the concept of interrupts. Okay, okay, that's all, that's enough for today's class. I will continue in the next class. Okay, thank you everybody.